Hi, welcome back or welcome to the Northern Sewl Sisters channel. Yes, it's only me today. Well, it's kind of all three of us, but it's me first. I'm going first this time because we just haven't had time to kind of get together to review our dresses. So just to kind of set the scene, this is our review of our dresses, sew dresses with the Northern Sewl Sisters tag that we had going. And we did all talk about 3 different patterns that we would like to make for the gathering, which was a really nice social occasion that the 3 of us went to, that was organised by Sam from Frugalissima, Ali from Timbers and Donna from Size Me Sewing. And what a wonderful time we had. It was absolutely brilliant. It was a really nice, relaxed environment. We managed to talk to loads of people that we've met on Instagram. It's a really surreal situation when you go to something like this, because you feel like you know everybody, so you're chatting away to people as if you've known them all your life, when really it's the first time you've met them. But anyway, we had a really, really wonderful time. We did a lot of dancing, a lot of talking, and just generally loving life, basically. So yeah, we had a really, really lovely time. Now, the 3 of us spoke very briefly about our dresses when we did our most recent live, because we did the live on the day that we were going to the gathering. So we'd all got glammed up and we'd got our dresses on. But what we wanted to do was give you all a more up-to-date and more detailed review of each of our pattern dresses that we decided to make. So I'm going to go first. So I've put mine on today just so that you can see it, but out of the 3 patterns that I chose to potentially do, I ended up choosing the Nina Lee Park Lane dress, of which hopefully Rachel will put a lovely picture in here of it. Now, I had a few different options of what I wanted to make. The 3 different patterns that I had as options were the Holly dress by Fibre Mood, the Pleiades dress by not French Navy, who's French Poetry, that's the one, and then this Nina Lee Park Lane dress. Now, when I gave my options, we obviously put a bit of a poll up for you guys to say which one you thought we should choose. And in my head, I was going to make the Holly dress by Fibre Mood. That was kind of coming out top runner. But the amount of people that voted for the Park Lane dress, I couldn't ignore it. So I ordered it straight away after I'd seen the poll results, and I printed it, and then I cut it out and just went for it, because I was kind of like, I need to decide straight away on what I'm doing so that I'm not racing to the finish line like Tamlyn, bless her. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this dress. But to start off with, if you aren't aware and you haven't watched the videos already, we were very kindly gifted fabric from the Minverva exclusive range. So you probably all know about Minverva, but they have brought out recently a huge selection of exclusive designs, and that goes across several different cloth bases as well. So they have Viscose Challis, which is what this is. I think they have French terry now. They're doing cotton sateen. So there's loads of different ones. I think there's some linens in there as well. So if you haven't already been over and had a look, please do go and have a look. This isn't them paying us to plug them, by the way, but we've all fallen in love with their ranges. It's all obviously exclusive as well, so they're all really individual. And we'll pop a link down below so that you can go and have a look at the 3 fabrics that we've chosen, if they're still in stock, and also the different ranges, so that you can go and have a peruse. But be warned, you'll come out skint. Put it that way. I've got about 10 in my basket at the moment. But anyway, that's another story. So I chose this fabric here, and let me get the name of it correct. So I will be looking down because I've written notes. This is the Animal Viscose Challis. Oh no, it's not called the Animal Viscose Challis. I'll find out what it is and we'll pop it in below. And I think it's the Abstract Animal Viscose Challis, something like that. And I love it. Now, I've had my eye on this fabric anyway before we were gifted the fabric, so I knew straight away which fabric I wanted to choose. And it's this beautiful animal print in all these different colours. Now, they're quite almost autumnal colours, really. There's navy here, and then there's this gorgeous purple. There's 2 different colours of purple here. Then we've got turquoise and a brighter blue. We've got mustard. There's like a dark green in here, if you can see it. And then like a grey blush pink, and then black animal print. We'll be putting pictures in as well as we go along, so you'll get to see it in all its glory. So let me talk to you about the Nina Lee Park Lane dress. I'll read out what it says about it on the website, because I thought it sounded quite nice. It says, float away on a romantic dream of your own sewing with the Part Lane dress. Choose between a flowing midi dress with delicate waistline gathers or the elegant darted blouse, both finished with a keyhole opening and button and rouleau loop closure at the back neck. Then mix and match amongst 2 different necklines and 3 sleeve variations, along with an optional shoulder ruffle. The full-length sleeves feature a button cuff with placket, whereas the more voluminous mid and short sleeves finish with a plain band and cuff. So I went for the dress version, obviously, so you can have this actually in a blouse as well, which is fantastic. I went for the midi version and I went for the short sleeves with the cuff. That's what I wanted to do. Now there's 2 different necklines. There's one here that's done with a facing, and then there's also like a high neck collar as well, but I wanted something a little bit looser. I do actually quite like high necks, but I thought I was going to try and get more use out of this in the summer months, so I decided to go for the facing, and I'm really happy with it actually. So I'll talk you through sizes. There are 2 size options in this pattern. There's a size 6 to 20 and a 16 to 28. And that is a bust measurement of 32 inches to 54, a waist measurement of 24 inches to 47, and a hips measurement of 33.5 to 57. So yeah, quite a good size range on that one, and the skill level they say is beginner to intermediate, and I would agree with that. I think maybe if you're an advanced beginner type of thing, if you're wanting to step into the next thing, that might be probably more beneficial. I wouldn't say well, mind you, I don't like to say beginner or not, because you can just go for it, can't you, and just give it a whirl. But yeah, it does include things like a concealed zipper, and obviously gathering into cuff bands and then gathering it under the waist as well. So if you're, adventurous, you go for it, girl. So it says that I needed, for my size, 2 meters of fabric. I actually only used 1.6, which is unheard of for me, because it's actually quite a long dress as well. And I did add 2 inches of length to the dress, to the skirt length. So size wise, I should have been a 16 top, a 20 waist and an 18 hips. And for frame of reference, I'm roughly a 42 on top, a 37.5 waist and 46 hips. So yeah, I should have been 16, 20, 18. I always go out in the middle because everybody thinks you should have a tiny waist, and I don't. I have quite a thick waist. So I always tend to go out and then come back in slightly. So I made a 16 on top, which was exactly the right size for my bust measurement, and that gave me 2 inches of ease. But I did size down on the waist and the hips. So on the waist, I went from a 20 down to an 18, because that would give me 2.5 inches of ease, which I thought was fine. And hips, I went down to a 16 from an 18, which would give me a couple of inches ease. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want it to be really loose and flowy. Although now I'm sat down, I'm kind of thinking I could do with an extra inch maybe. I think maybe next time I would probably just do my actual measurements, but I did want it to nip in here, and I have still got, if I just stand up slightly, plenty of room here. There's a good few inches there. So yeah, but I might around my hips maybe do my original size, just to give me a little bit more when I'm sat down. It's fine when I'm stood up, but when I'm sat down it doesn't pull or anything, but obviously it creases the fabric quite a lot as well. So what do I need to say about the fabric? I absolutely love it. It worked incredibly well. It cut very nicely. It is a printed fabric, so you do need to be really, really careful if you're using one that's got a dark background like mine has, because you'll need to use a microtex needle to ensure that there is no pulling of the black or the dark threads. I think I do have maybe 1 or 2 here or there, but you'd have to really get a magnifying glass out to see it. And that happens sometimes when you are sewing your seams and then you put it through the overlocker, and sometimes even the overlocker can pull that thread if you're trying to finish off your seams with an overlocker. So yeah, I chose to make the midi dress, the short sleeve and the facing, and at the back it has, if you can see here, let me see if I can turn around for you, it has a little gap here with a little Rolo loop and a button, which is a really nice, I like that because it's a fitted bodice, you can pop it over your head, and then it does kind of I don't know, just sucks you in nicely so that this doesn't drag down. And the nice thing about this is I chose to do the facing option on the neck, and you do actually sew it down, which is nice. I'm not a big fan of a facing that flips up all the time, but this encourages you to sew down the facing. I mean, you can just see it a little bit there, look, on the lighter colour, but you can't really see it around here, just to keep that nice and neat. And I find that this fits me really well all the way around and at the back. And also the cuffs are perfect on me. So there's a little bit of movement there, if you can see. But it tells you not to ease in your sleeves. It wants you to have ruffles, just so that you've got a little bit of poof there. Now, I don't normally like an awful lot, but this is just about right for me because it's in the right type of fabric. Okay, so it recommends fabric-wise, a fabric basically with plenty of drape, because you want it to be nice and flowy, don't you? So a viscose or rayon, and maybe like a crepe or even a silk, something really nice like that, but something with some really nice drape. I think you could probably get away with like a viscose linen. So if the viscose was a higher content than the linen, I think you'd be absolutely fine. But I have seen people do it in a really nice soft cotton and things like that. So the world is your oyster, really. But I do think a drapey fabric works really, really well with it. So what did I think about the construction? I really enjoyed making this dress. I really did. It was a lovely, lovely make. The only notions that you need for it is a little bit of interfacing to put on the cuffs here, or I suppose if you're doing the neck, you probably put a little bit in there. You can choose to put somewhere your zip is as well. And the only other thing that you need really is a button for the rouleau loop at the back and a concealed zip. So hey, we're cooking on gas there. We don't need to get loads of notions in, which I like. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed the construction process. It came together very well. What I would say about it is I can actually pull this on without the zip, which I found quite interesting considering I've actually gone down a size on both the waist and the hips. But the zip is here. I'll show you. Just here, you might not be able to see it. See if I can, there it is there, look. And it comes down to about, it's quite a long one here. So I don't think I had the right size, so I had to just cut mine down. But anyway, but yes, it was only my second concealed zip ever, and it went in like a dream. So I was really, really pleased with that. The only thing that I wasn't pleased with, and I have touched on this before, is that in some of the pattern information, it tells you most of the time when to finish your seams. Now, I have no issue if a pattern kind of says the way to finish your seams is this way, we're not going to refer to it again, kind of crack on while you're going through it. But on this pattern, there was quite a few where it said, now finish your seam, now finish your seam, now finish your seam. But then when it came to the zip, and I think one other area, it didn't say to finish the seams. So because I've only put one concealed zip in before, I didn't think to finish the seams on my pattern pieces here, my front and back, before I inserted my zip. And in future, I would always do that. I would finish the edges first and then construct the zip, because I'd put the zip in and then I was like, I need to finish the edges of my dress. Now, trying to overlock and finish those edges when you've already put the zip in is hard work, but I did not want to unpick it because I'd done such a brilliant job on my zip. So I was like, no. So I've put in red pen on the instructions to make sure that I actually overlock the edges of both of those pieces before I do my zip. From a length point of view, I think it worked out really well. Like I said, I did add 2 inches. I think it's drafted for 5'6" if I remember rightly, and I'm 5'8", so I added 2 inches, and I'm really happy actually with the length. What I do like about this dress, and particularly about the fabric as well, is that I do think you could dress this up. So I could wear this with some really nice black heels, or basically any colour heel really that would go with this dress. Or I could wear it with some nice white pumps, which is what I did actually to the gathering. I would normally dress up a bit more than that, but I wanted to be comfy and I knew I was going to be hitting the dance floor. So I was kind of like, I'm going to go with the comfy option. So I just styled it up with some little pumps, a tiny bag, and then Tamlyn let me borrow her black denim jacket because I didn't have one. So yeah, it was perfect. I was really, really pleased with it actually. And I love this fabric and I'll definitely wear it again. Yeah, the other thing that you can have on this pattern is a little frill here, which I've never really been into before, but the more and more I see it, the more I want to have a go at it. It's a bit similar with the Marnie from Tilly and the Buttons. I'm fancying having a go at the little frill as well. So I'm just having a look to see if I've missed anything. I don't think so. I think that's everything. But I do like as well, obviously it has little gathers under the bust, which is what gives you the shaping here where the seam is. You can see the seam here, and then it's got gathering here. And when I was constructing it, I did think, oh, I don't know if that's far enough up. I might need to shorten the bodice part, but actually it sits perfectly there, which is exactly what I wanted. So am I happy with my choice, or should I say your choice, because you guys actually made me decide to make this one? Yes, I am. I'm very happy with it. Am I happy with how it all was made up? Yes, loved the process, was fantastic. Am I happy with the fabric? Absolutely. I'm definitely going to be buying some more fabric from there. I'm going to treat myself. I've actually got a voucher, so those ones that are in my my little basket on Minverva site might actually get used. But yeah, am I happy with it all? Yes, I am. So thank you everybody for making me make this dress, because I am really, really pleased. And that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm now going to pass you on to one of the girls, so enjoy their time. Bye.
So it's my turn. Can I just start this off by saying it feels like the longest time since we actually made these dresses, like so long ago. So I'm going to do my very best to talk you through my dress, my choice, what I made for the gathering. See if I can remember how it went. I really need to start making notes, don't I? So if you remember back to the choices that we had, I had 3 choices, which were the Vicki Sew's Rosalind dress, the Sew Over It Pippa dress, and the Fibre Mood Lucille dress. In thinking about which one I wanted to make, I actually started to go off the idea of the Pippa dress. I don't know, just something about it wasn't quite pulling at my heartstrings, I guess. It wasn't really wanting me to make it. And I just could not stop thinking about this dress, which, as you might be able to recognise, is the Vicki Sew's Rosalyn. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. This version here and just this detail around the bust, I just think is absolutely incredible. So this is the one that I went for. In terms of my fabric, I went for this beautiful Rose Reverie Viscose Challis, which is one of the Minverva exclusive range. I just love the detail in it. Just teal is one of my favourite colours, and it's a colour that really works for me, but the detail in this fabric with all of that shadowing, and I just think it's absolutely beautiful, and I'm really happy I went for this. I feel like it's got a bit of a 90s like grungy vibe to it. It's such a stunning fabric. Now with any printed viscose, you do need to handle it quite carefully, because you've got that issue of it being sort of white on the reverse and very prone to snagging. For me, I did have a little few snags here and there from my overlocker, and also I think at one point I needed to change my needle, so I changed my needle for a nice new Microtex needle, and that always helps. But you are always going to get some little snags here and there. It's just kind of part and parcel of working with this type of fabric, where it's a printed fabric with white on the reverse. Is quite difficult to avoid. Anyway, enough about that. I love this fabric. I have got some of this fabric left over, and I am going to make something else with it. I'm thinking of something like a saltwater slip by Friday Pattern Company. I think that would be really, really nice in this. So the Rosalind dress by Vicki Sews is a close-fitting dress with an accentuated waist. You can see that here sort of has this panelling here that just accentuates and draws in the waist. The dress features a waist seam and a shaped underbust seam. The upper edge of the front bodice is gathered with tie straps threaded through casings, and that's what you've got here. You can actually tie these straps in different ways, so I need to explore that a little bit. The straps crisscross at the front and are tied at the back of the neck. The neckline is deep, wide, square shaped, and has a centre slit that reaches the underbust seam. The dress is shaped with front princess seams and darts on the back bodice and back skirt. There's an invisible zip in the top part of the centre back seam and a slit at the bottom. The set-in sleeves are long and gathered at the cap and at the hem. The sleeve hems are elasticated, and it's a midi length dress. So the pattern is designed for lightweight, non-stretch woven fabrics. So things like a viscose are absolutely perfect, and that's what I have gone for. It does give lots of different recommendations for fabrics that you can use, and it also gives recommendations for fabrics not to use, which I think is really great on the Vicki Sews patterns. It also tells you what this is made out of, and this is made out of a viscose. I love this version. There are loads and loads of details on the pattern, or if you buy this from the Vicki Sews website, there's loads of details. Now, if you buy it as a PDF from Vicki Sews, you have to choose a height bracket and then your size, and it gives you an indication of which measurement you need to pay closest attention to when choosing your size. For some garments you'll need to bear the bust in mind, others you'll need to choose based on your waist and hips. So I think that's really, really great. I actually got the paper pattern because Amazon had it on special offer, and I bought it for about £8 I think, which is really great. The paper patterns don't come with printed instructions. They come with a little QR code that you just scan on your phone, and then you can have those instructions on your phone, or you can save them and share them to your iPad or your laptop or whatever you want, so you can access them. So in terms of the size that I chose, I came out pretty much as a size 42, so it's a European size 42. The bust measurement for that is a 37 3/4 inch. Now I'm about a 37.5 inch bust. The waist measurement is 29 7/8 of an inch. I'm 30-inch waist. And then the hip measurement is 40 1/8 of an inch. I hover between 40 and 41 inches depending on different factors, time of the month, what I've eaten, whether I've been exercising much or not. It just, that kind of, it hovers between 40 and 41, my hip measurement. So size 42 is pretty much perfect for me, and that's the size that I made, and I am really, really happy with it. In terms of what this pattern comes in for the sizing, it ranges from a European 34 up to a 52, which takes you from 31.5 inch bust to a 45 5/8 inch bust, 23 5/8 waist up to 37 3/4 inch waist, and 33 7/8 hip up to 48 inch hip. So it's not a vast size range with this. I'm not sure if it might come in a wider size range in the PDF. I'm not entirely sure about that. But yeah, it comes from a UK 6 up to a 24 at the moment. I really, really enjoyed sewing this up. It was quite an involved make, but the instructions are absolutely fantastic. They are so clear and so detailed, with fabulous photographs all the way through, and I really found them helpful and supportive and just the right amount of detail to really, really guide me through making this garment. I just really enjoyed it, and it was really nice to sew something from a pattern company I haven't used before. This was my first Vicki Sews sew, and I really did enjoy it. The pattern itself is aimed at, I would say, sort of an intermediate, so it's got a 3 out of 5 difficulty rating, and I definitely would agree with that. I think it's quite an approachable pattern, not an easy pattern, but quite straightforward for someone that's been sewing for a little while. Obviously it's got an invisible zip, which is a little bit tricky. I don't think mine's perfect by any means, and I don't think it exactly matches up at the back, but you know what, I've got all this hair that can just cover it up, and that's fabulous. If you were kind of following us around the time of us making these dresses, you'll know that I was right down to the wire on finishing this. I was actually hemming it and sewing up the split at the very last minute, like literally about 2 hours before we left. For that reason, I don't think my hem and the split are the neatest sewing that I've ever done, but you know what, I gave it a good press and I think it looked absolutely fine. I was initially a little bit unsure about this when I put it on, and I think it's because it's so covered up. So much of my body is covered up. I've got these big sleeves, it's a midi length, it's quite a different style for me, but you know what, I feel absolutely fantastic in this dress. I really, really love it, and I would like to make another one in a lighter coloured fabric. Obviously this is very dark, very like grungy, like I said. I would like to make it a bit lighter, just to give more of a fresh, light, maybe daytime feel to it. This feels very glam, very nighttime, which I love, but it would be nice to have another version of this. I've also seen somebody hack it to be sleeveless, and I really want to explore that because I think this as a sleeveless dress would be absolutely incredible. Hopefully Rachel will be putting in some lovely pictures for you, but I will just stand up and see if I can show you a bit more of what it looks like. So just to show you sort of the detail around here, you've got this crisscross strap. These go into your little casing here. The casing just ends there, so your drawstring is just sewn into that, and you can sort of manipulate that to have as much skin on show as you want to. You've got this lovely detail here with your gathered sleeves, nice and billowy down into that elasticated cuff. You can see in terms of size in there, it's definitely fitted, but I do have some ease. And there's definitely a little bit of ease around the hip there as well. I think it's just the right amount. I love these gathered bust cups as well. So all in all, I am really happy with this dress. I think the fabric choice and the dress style work really great together. I think the size that I chose was just right. I don't think I would change that. You saw the amount of ease that I was showing you there. It actually gives you the ease on the pattern. So it says at the waist you should have 1.5 inches to 1 7/8 inches ease, which I think was about right, judging on what I was showing you there. And the hip line ease around 2 inches, again I think that was about right. And the bust ease between 1.5 to 2 inches. It's difficult to tell the bust ease obviously because you've got the gathering and things, but I'm really happy with the size. So in terms of how accurate the sizing is compared to how it turns out, I'm really thrilled with that. So I think that is all to share with you about this dress. If you've got any specific questions, then please do leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. But yes, I love it. I was really happy with all of our dresses. I thought we all looked wonderful, and I think each of us chose something that was very much our style and worked for us. And I think we all felt great in what we were wearing and had a lot of fun at the gathering. So yes, I hope you like what I've sewn up, and do go and check out this fabric, which will be linked down below, because it's stunning. So thank you Minverva for sending us this, or sending me it. I absolutely love it and I can't wait to sew something else up in it. So I'll hand you over now to my gorgeous Rachel. Bye.
Hello, Rachel here, and I'm here finally to talk to you about what I made for the Sew a Dress with NSS challenge. If you remember, if you watched our plans vlog, you will know that the 3 options that I couldn't decide on what to make were the Maison Fauve Mia dress, the by Handland and Tamlyn dress, and then the named patterns Kerttu dress. And I went with the named patterns Kerttu dress, and I absolutely love this dress. Let me just say that straight away. I think one of the things that I love about named patterns is that they are drafted for a height of 5'8". I'm 5'10", and because of that, it just means that when I make a named patterns pattern, I never ever have to do any alterations whatsoever, and it's bliss. It is so nice to be able to just trace a pattern or use a pattern straight out of the envelope, so to speak, and not have to make any adjustments whatsoever. Most of the time with most patterns, I always have to lengthen them. Somebody decides to cut the grass. Give me 2 secs. Hopefully that's a bit better. As I was saying, most of the time when I'm sewing, whether it's a commercial or an indie designer pattern, I always have to lengthen every pattern because of my height, and yeah, it's just so nice to not have to do that with named patterns. One other thing that I really love about their patterns as well is that their instructions, they provide written instructions as well as a pictorial guide. I'm very much a visual learner. I don't know about you, and I know that we all learn in different ways, and we all find pattern instructions very different. Some of us, you know, will read one set of instructions and find them really straightforward, and then other people can find them really confusing. And I think that doesn't matter whether you're a brand new sewist or whether you're really experienced. I think it just comes down to how we interpret the written word and images. And what I will say about named patterns is that their images in their instructions are line drawings. I'll just show you a quick copy there. So they don't show any photographs or, you know, any other sort of pictorial images at all. It is purely line drawings, and for me, I find this the easiest way to understand what the instructions are trying to tell me to do. Now, you know, I'm fairly experienced now. Most of the time I can figure things out just from the written word, but there's always, with the more sort of complex techniques, I guess, or complex, I don't know the word for it really, you know, in some patterns where there's those little parts to them that might just be a little bit more intriguing, a little bit more complex than normal, and I just find line drawings like this so much easier to follow. So yeah, instruction wise, absolutely spot on. So let me tell you a little bit more about this dress. It comes in a UK size 4 to 28, which is quite an inclusive size range. As I say, they don't draft for petite, standard or tall. It is just one height of 5'8". So if you are a lot shorter or a lot more petite, you would need to adjust the pattern accordingly to fit your height and your figure. But for me, for a change, thank you, I had to make no adjustments whatsoever. Now, I am not going to go through what those sizes equate to. I will leave a link to the pattern down below so you can go and check that out if you so wish. But for me, my measurements put me round about in the size 14 category. Now, my body measurements at the moment are a full bust of 38 inches, a waist of 31 and hips of 46. The size 14 finished garment measurements for this dress were a full bust of 37 3/4, a waist of 39, it's an elasticated waist, I'll come to that in a second, and hips of 46.5. So I've only got half an inch of ease on the hips, and if you look at the pattern image, which I will put a picture of here, you will see that actually this dress is designed for a lot more ease than that. And what I would say is I really should have sized up from the hips personally, because although I love this dress, it's gorgeous and I'm really happy with how it's finished, I do think I probably could have done with more ease for the pattern that the designer had in mind when they drafted it. So ease is a very individual thing, as I'm sure you all know. Some of us like a lot of ease in our garments, some like things more fitted. I'm a bit on the fence sometimes. I think personally, I think clothing and patterns flatter me more when they're a little bit more fitted, but I feel more comfortable in loose fit garments. So I've got that constant battle between what flatters me and what I like to wear and feel comfortable in at the moment. So yeah, I went with a size 14. Now, basically this dress, you've got a bodice that looks very booby at the moment because I've got a push-up bra on. I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to bear with. You've got a bodice that's got like a little tie front detail. In fact, I'll stand up and show you. Right then, so I know my head's cut off, but you're interested in the garment at the moment, not my face. So I've got a strap bodice that leads into this little tie through the bridge of your bra, which again I'll come to in a second. You've got this gorgeous little keyhole detail at the front, which does sit well above your belly button. So for those of us that have got the old mum tum, I'm sure there's many of us, and we're always worried about showing the midriff, etc. It comes way above that, right on your high natural waist, so you don't have to worry about that little keyhole. And the beauty is that this little tie front bit hides it anyway, so it's just a nice little touch. You have an elasticated waist, so you've got a channel with a casing inside that you've got, I think it's about a 2 centimetre elastic that goes through it, and then it's supposed to flare out into a 2-tier skirt with a maxi length finish. And yeah, it's really lovely. As I say, I'm supposed to only have half an inch ease. I have got a bit more than that. I've got about an inch and a half ease, I would say, through the hips. But when you look at the pattern image, you can see it's designed to be much more flowy over the hips, and I really should have sized up, but you know what, it is what it is. Round the back, what you've got is these straps go into sort of rouleau loops that then again you have a casing through the back bodice, and the straps go through the casing and tie. So you've got lots of areas in the bodice for you to be able to fit it to your body and to your liking, really. The bodice is fully lined, which was straightforward. The instructions were really straightforward in how to do that, and yeah, I didn't have any problems with it. I did use my stay tape, which is the iron-on interfacing stabilizing tape that I always use on bias cut seams. So I used that on this sort of bias cut front bodice bit here because I wanted to make sure that it did hug my chest. And yeah, the bit that I mentioned was about how the tie can go through the bridge of your bra, and I mean, it doesn't tell you that in the instructions, but some ingenious person told me about this little hack, because what I was worried about was that as you move around, you're going to end up showing your bra, etc. And what they said to me was, what you do is you can put one of the straps from the top down the bridge of your bar, and then the other one from the bottom up, and then tie them, actually anchoring it to the bridge, and then it's totally secure and you're not going to end up flashing your bra or worse. So yeah, it's great, and that's what I've done with this now as I've put it on to show you, and it's great. I really like it. So, but yeah, I do look a bit boobyish at the minute, don't I? But anyway, moving on, this fabric is the Dynamic Brushstrokes Viscose Challis from Minverva that was very kindly gifted to all of us for this particular project, and I loved working with it. It was really nice to work with. It's a gorgeous weight. It's one of their exclusive range from Minverva, and yeah, I think I could probably buy most of the range, to be honest, because there are some beauties in there. But I went with this one because lots of people keep telling me how much blue really suits my skin tone, and I'm always drawn to the pinks because I love pink. I love blue as well, but pink is what I get drawn to. But people are constantly telling me how I should wear more blue because it really suits me. So I think that's why I went for this one, but it's got hints of pink in it as well. Now, as Tamlyn and Ruan have already mentioned, when you're working with a viscose fabric that is printed onto a white base, you can sometimes get clicks in it. I mean, this is a white base, look on the reverse side. And yeah, no matter what you do, you can sometimes get clicks in the fabric when you're sewing with it, and it's very difficult to avoid that. I can say I didn't really notice a problem with this. I just used a standard Schmetz needle. I buy these needles from Amazon in packs of 100. They're about 25 quid. And yeah, I just use them for everything, if I'm honest, even jerseys. So I don't necessarily change my needles unless I feel I really need to. If the fabric starts playing up and I start skipping stitches, then I'll change a needle. Otherwise, I will just stick with those for everything, and I don't generally have an issue. So I used one of those. I think these are 80/12s, which is the sort of standard size that I tend to use for most things. And I didn't really get any sort of runs or clicks in this fabric, so yeah, really happy with it. I just did a double turned up hem at the bottom and stitched that on my sewing machine with a normal straight stitch. Nothing fancy. Love it. What do you think? I think we all look absolutely amazing. I think Tamlyn and Ruan's dresses are gorgeous, very much suit their style. Gonna put some pictures in now of the three of us wearing our completed dresses when we went to the gathering at the end of April. We enjoyed that night so much. We had so much fun. It was lovely. It was so good to meet so many new people from the sewing community that we didn't know about, people that we knew about that we'd never met before, and it was just such a lovely evening. So we had so much fun wearing our dresses. I'm sure you'll agree when you see the photos that I'm going to insert now. But please, as always, leave us comments down in the description box below. We always love to hear from you. We read everybody's comments, and let us know if we made the patterns that you thought we were going to make, or did we actually go completely off the radar from what you thought we would choose. Really interested to hear your thoughts on that, and let us know what you think of our finished dresses. We're all super happy with them. We've really enjoyed working with Minverva on this project. We will be working with Minverva again on another project coming up in the coming months, so watch out for that. But for now, I will say goodbye to you from Tamlyn, Ruan and I, aka the Northern Sewl Sisters, and we'll see you again really soon. Bye.